Hello FlossTube, my name is Leann and I am leann.stitches here on YouTube and on Instagram. You can also find me at Forbidden Fiber Co. on Instagram and Facebook. Today is Sunday, August 24th, and I am filming a FlossTube extra today. I am going through all of my bookish patterns, anything inspired by reading or a book or anything remotely related to books that I can find in my current whips, in my stash, and also things that we have designed and put in the shop, which as I went through all of the patterns that we have in the shop, I was kind of shocked at how many are inspired by books, in all honesty, because I know I like to read, but yeah, there's quite a bit, and I'm excited to get to share them with you. I'll put pictures up here or there, whichever side I decide to go with while I'm editing. And I will try to tell you designers or artists or any information that I can. Okay, let's get straight to it. I'm going to start with my current whips and let's just start. Okay, so the first whip I have that is book inspired is called The Reader, and it's designed by Primitive Hair, and it is part of her Queen of the Needle series, and I got this at Market last year, I think, in 2024, yeah, because I started this with Zan from Crazy Band Lady Stitches and Sarah from Memphis Sarah E when we went down to Alabama last summer to go see Garnet Stitchery's new brick and mortar location. So there's where I'm at. I am doing a conversion to Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses. The pattern is mostly in blacks and grays and browns, and I really wanted something a little more colorful. And that says just one more page, and then I have the big bookshelf done. I believe it's done. And then the next time I work on it, there is a bookshelf that starts down there, and that's what I'll be working on. I had this in my winter projects for this year, so I'm done working on this for the year unless I decide to bring it back out for some reason, because I could probably finish it if I focused. Okay, the next book-inspired project that I have on the go is the Hobbiton, and I bought this pattern on Etsy from Stitching Masterpiece. And it says the design is by Cheshire. I started this last year with Leann from, I'm gonna blank on everything, I'm just forewarning you. Small Town Stitches, and I feel like we started it with someone else, but I can't remember off the top of my head because it's just been that kind of week. So here's where I'm at. And I am stitching this 2/1 tent stitch on a 28 count easy grid. There's a lot of blends in this, and this is my first time doing a full coverage piece with blends, so it's kind of fun. And I've got about 2,000 stitches into this right now, if I had to guess. I don't have that information in front of me, but there's where I'm at with that. And obviously this one is inspired by The Hobbit, which, you know, depending on who you are, is a book or a movie, but it was a book first, so I'm counting it as a bookish pattern. The next bookish pattern I have to show you, or project that I have to show you, is one that I have been showing on my videos several times recently because it is part of my summer projects, and it's Around the World in 80 Days by Aury TM. And again, depending on who you are, this could be a book or a movie. However, the book did come first. It was written by Jules Verne in 1872, and the movie wasn't made until 2004. So we're calling it bookish. And that's where I'm at. There's a lot of stitches in there that are fairly close to the fabric color, so I want to make sure to give it to you nice up and close. Again, like I said, this is one of my summer projects, so I've been working on it more. I started this with Sarah from Memphis Sarah E. We stayed up late one night at Market. I think it was my first Market, and we converted all of the DMC into Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses. And I am just now getting back to working on it, and it's been a lot of fun. The next bookish pattern I have to show you is Once Upon a Fairy Tale. The artwork is by Aimee Stewart. It is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and I think this was actually my first bookish pattern that I stitched. And if it's not my first, it's definitely my oldest if I've started and finished something else. there's where I'm at. I'm stitching this 1/1 full cross on 25 count easy guide. And I cannot tell you how much I have been jonesing to take this out. I'm doing a rotation on my focus wheel right now, and I'm thinking of cheating on my wheel and just pulling this out for the next 3-day rotation because I just want to work on it so badly. I am so close to a page finish in there. There's just little stitches in there, and this is max color, which is also my only max color project I have because the confetti is insane. And while I don't mind a little bit of confetti, and I'm suffering through the confetti on Marvel Heroes without Pattern Keeper, this is a lot. And so yeah, I am kind of changing up my strategy on how I want to stitch this, and so I'm really anxious to get in there and finish this first page out with all that confetti that I've been avoiding. The next bookish pattern I have on the go is Reader's Paradise, artwork by Aimee Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. And you're gonna notice a pattern here with me and Aimee Stewart because I have a lot of her projects both on the go and in my stash. I can't help it. She designs bookshelves. I mean, what do you expect me to do? Anyway, here is where I'm at on Reader's Paradise, and I am stitching this one 1/1 full cross on 25 count easy guide. And this is probably the one that I have the most done on. I just love stitching on this, and I'm so excited to finally be out of that corner with the browns and the tans and into this blue wall. It's been a lot of fun to stitch. I've really enjoyed getting this piece back out this year, and I can't wait for my next rotation on it. I'm not jonesing on it like I am. I'm not jonesing to work on it like I am on Once Upon a Fairy Tale, but I always love stitching on this one. The next bookish pattern I have to show you is Snape's Library, and this is charted by the Cross Stitch Studio, and I don't remember who the artwork's by, so I'll either put it on the bottom of the screen or I'll put it in the description below. This one is bookish for 2 reasons. One is because it's Snape, which is from Harry Potter. And again, depending on who you are, it could be a book or a movie, but it was a book first. So, and then second, it's a library. So there you go. And I only have a very small start on this because I just started this last year, and that actually is quite a lot of stitches. And there is like 200 and something thousand stitches of 939 in this piece. And so I'm considering in this project. So I'm considering doing all the 939 first, but we'll see how long I make it into that resolution. I do like a little bit of color. The next bookish project I have to show you that I have on the go is The Grand Library by Aimee Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I started this for Mother's Day this year. And I'm stitching, the other Snape's Library, I'm stitching 1/1 full cross on a 28 count, I believe. And this one is 2/1 10th stitch, and this is also a 28 count, I believe. And I decided to do a middle start, and I started with the fireplace scene in the very middle of the pattern. And just because that's what I wanted to stitch the most, because I have so many other bookshelf patterns that I thought it would be fun to start with the chair in front of the fireplace. So there's that one. The next bookish project I have on the go is the Beatrix Potter Quaker sampler. It is, I don't know who designed it. I know that it was stitched for Beatrix Potter and it hung in her house, and Stitchy Box Sampler re-released it or recharted it or something. I'm not sure of all the particulars. But Beatrix Potter is a beloved children's author, and I have loved her for forever since I was a kid. I used to read her books to my kids when they were little, and I've been to the Beatrix Potter Gardens in Scotland, and I've driven through the Lake District where she lived in England. Like, I'm obsessed. So there's where I'm at with that. And I just worked on this for a couple of rotations, and so again, this shouldn't be unfamiliar if you watch my channel. And I was just checking to make sure I had it right side up, because if you watch my channel, you know I have a habit of showing things upside down, sideways. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if I've shown something backwards, or like the back side of something instead of the front. It just happens. Beatrix Potter Quaker is, I'm stitching at 1/2 full cross on 40 count Chosen, I think. It's either Chosen or Countess by Forbidden Fabric Co. And I'm using Garnet, which is one of our flosses, Forbidden Fabric Co. flosses, that it was a mess up and I have an entire hank of it. And so I figured it would be a good fit for that pattern. And I was kind of regretting my decision because red isn't really my color, but I have some red armchairs in my, we call this the study, because we like to feel fancy. I have some red armchairs directly behind the camera that you can't see, and it matches them perfectly. So I'm keeping on with it, and I think it'll look really good on the wall, again, behind you where you can't see, but I'm staring at it, and it is a nice, big, empty, blank wall. So anyway, the next project I have to show you, and it's the last project, this is number 9, is Nevermore by Lila Studio. And Nevermore is obviously written by Edgar Allan Poe, and so I feel like it fits into the bookish genre, if you will. And I am stitching this 2/2 on a 32 count Morning Mist by Forbidden Fabric Co. And I have a conversion pack up for sale in the shop. That's actually one of our most popular conversion packs that we do. And that's where I'm at. And I have this in my Halloween, not my Halloween, in my fall seasonal bucket. And so I can't wait to get this out in next month and start stitching on it again. It's been a couple years since I've put any stitches into this. You can tell I was kind of just wanting to try every pattern. Not every pattern, every color. And I was working on this mandala here and I was ripping so much because the counting was just too hard for me. And so I wrote the Once Upon, and then I went up here to do the teal because I love that teal. And I just wanted to stitch a different color and not rip everything out for once. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna go through my stash patterns now that I have not started. I don't necessarily have any plans to start these other than the one I am starting for my birthday this year. I have one non-full coverage pattern, which I can't seem to find. And so I'm just gonna put it on the screen. And then I have 9 full coverage patterns. So the one non-full coverage is One More Chapter by Puntini Puntini. And since I can't find the pattern, I'm not entirely sure that's what it's called, but that's what it says. So I'll put that up here, and I completely fell in love with this the first time I saw it, and I don't know when I'm gonna start it, but I have to stitch it, and I want it to go in my study here because I just think it's perfect. Maybe I'll make it into a pillow and put it in one of my armchairs. So full coverage, the vast majority of these are going to be Heaven and Earth designs. Several of them are going to be Aimee Stewart. So I have my computer set up right here so I can go through my files because I didn't write down who designed them all. So let's just start. The first pattern is Stitching Shelf by Aimee Stewart, charted by HAED, Heaven and Earth Designs. And that one's a really popular one. I'm sure you've seen, if you watch any number of full coverage stitchers, I'm sure you've seen several people stitching that one. The second one I have is Brainiac. And this is another Heaven and Earth design. The artwork is by Dragon Muse. And I honestly did not even remember buying this one. It is absolutely adorable. Yeah, I have no idea when I'll start it, if I'll start it, but I had to have it. The next one is Magic Book. It's chart designed by Michelle Sayeda and charted by Michelle at Heaven and Earth Designs. And this one's just cool and fantastical, and I really don't have any plans to start this. It's really not kind of in my aesthetic anymore because I'm really trying to stitch things, full coverage things with less background and more actual things to look at, just because it's kind of boring to stitch background. Shh, don't tell anyone I said that. The next pattern I have is Magic City with Books, and again, the chart design, the chart design and artwork, it says, is by Michelle Sayeda. And again, this is the same thing, as it's got a lot of background. So this is one that I could possibly put on a hand-dyed piece of fabric and just stitch the little book village that's there. I think that could be kind of fun. The next pattern in my stash is Magic Steady Rainbow by Rose Kahn. This is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, but I want to say that they retired all of the Rose Kahn patterns. Correct me if I'm wrong. This one was really big a few years ago and I picked it up and I haven't started it. I don't know if I will, but it does have lots of interesting things to look at. So it could be something fun to stitch someday when I have more time maybe. The next pattern I have in my stash is Mini Village Bookstore by Randall Spangler, Randall Spangler, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. And you don't really see any books in this pattern, but it does say it's a bookshop and the little sign says books, so I'm going with it. And again, this one has some background to it with the trees and the sky and all of that, but I still think it'd be really fun to stitch. The next pattern in my stash is another Aimee Stewart Heaven and Earth Design chart, and it is The Secret Garden. And I mean, it's gardens and books, and The Secret Garden is a book, and it's just so pretty and florally and fun, and I absolutely love the little shed down in the bottom corner. And now I'm kind of feeling like I want to start this because I totally need another massive bookshelf chart. I have lost count, but I think that is all of them. So the last two that are on my computer stash. I also have Mini Tea and Books, and that, I don't remember who the artwork is for that one, but it's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and someone else just charted it. And I like that chart better. I feel like the background is much better done, but at the same time, I probably would stitch it without the background because that's where I got stuck, and why I eventually UFO'd it is I just got tired of stitching all that brown background. I am not a brown person. It's not my favorite color. It has its uses. It's just not my aesthetic, and it would never fit anywhere in my house because my house is all grays and teals and cool colors other than said red armchairs. So I UFO'd it 2 years ago, I think, with the intention of restarting it with no background. So I'm not sure where I'm at with that now. I don't have any plans to restart it at the moment, but it is technically in my stash, so I figured I would mention it. Okay, the last pattern in my stash that is actually the inspiration for this whole video is Fall Bookshop. It's charted by Pink Lily Patterns, and it's available on Etsy, and that's the pattern I am going to be starting on Friday, September 5th for my 45th birthday. And I am using the hashtag Bookish B-Day Sal. If anyone wants to join me, that's kind of why I'm doing this video, is just to go through all of the book things. And yeah, so those are all the patterns in my stash. Okay, let's try this again. I keep getting interrupted. The last thing I want to show you is just some of the patterns that we have in the shop that are inspired by books. There's quite a bit more than I thought there were going to be, and some of them are inspired by certain series or certain books. Some of them are just quotes about books or reading. The easiest way is to just start going through it and explain them one by one. I thought we'd start with the fandom-based ones. So first we're going to go through A Court of Thorns and Roses, and that is the most recent book series that I'm designing for. Every other month or so, we release one of our mystery kits, which means you get a project bag, you get fabric and the floss, and the design is a mystery. Currently we have done Winter Court, Spring Court, and Summer Court, and Autumn Court is due to ship, I think, the week of the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So Winter Court, I can show you, this is in the shop already. It's been released. Spring Court is also in the shop. It's been released. Summer Court, we just mailed out last month. It's only been a few weeks. So this is like a first look outside of the mystery kit because I haven't shown it anywhere. And then, like I said, Autumn Court hasn't gone out yet. So I'm not going to show you that one because I think it's still, the mystery kit is still for sale on the website or for pre-order. Then we also have Bat Boys, which I didn't design, Felicia designed, and she and I have so much fun nerding out over the Court of Thorns and Roses patterns and yarn sets and all of that. So she caught the design bug and she wanted to design a pattern. And so she designed Bad Boys. And that's, we didn't do a mystery kit for that one. That one's just available in the shop. Okay, the next book series we have, again, depending on who you are, it could be a book pattern, it could be a TV pattern, but like I keep saying, the books came first. So, and these were designed by Kelly. They're based on Outlander, and she designed a 3-pattern series based on Jamie's wedding vows to Claire, which I just thought was so sweet. So we have Blood and Bone, and then we have a Give My Spirit, and we have Two Become One. And so they're all designed in the same style, the same size, just different color palettes. And then the next pattern is one of the most popular patterns that we have ever put up in our shop, and that is the Empyrean Sal, which is inspired by Fourth Wing. And I think by the end of the 8 weeks of the stitch along, we had over 200 people stitch, whether or not they were stitching along with us, they were signed up for the stitch along receiving the pattern. And that was just astounding to me because we've had some good stitch alongs, but that one was just amazing. So here's that one, and I designed that one based on the books, obviously. Before, I actually designed it before, no, I had just finished Onyx Storm. So it was after the 3rd book came out. And there will probably be more as more books are released. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes and when the next book is released, because I think we have like another year to wait. The next pattern is Honor Christmas, and this is inspired by A Christmas Carol, which again, there are many, many movies inspired by A Christmas Carol, but it was a book by Charles Dickens first, or a play by Charles Dickens first. I'm not really sure which one it is. Was it just a book or a play? Anyway, this was our Advent box in 2023, and it's one of my favorite Advent designs we've done. So there's that one. And then the next book series is Hunger Games, and Kelly designed the first pattern based on the first trilogy called Hope is Greater Than Fear, and I'll put that one up there. And that one used our floss set that I had converted our yarn collection that we'd had for years and years and years. I converted that into floss, which is one of the few times that I've done that, because it's actually really difficult because the dyes are different and the processing time is different, and it's just all different. But after Hope is Greater Than Fear, when when the prequel came out about snow, and I'm blanking on the name because that's the name of the game today. When that prequel came out, we did another kit, and it's called Mockingjay, and it uses a quote from the book, and I designed that one. I'll put that one up here. And then I think that one's available in the shop. And then we have Reaping, which I designed after the last book came out, because the Sunrise on the Reaping, because I was just so absolutely destroyed by that book. I was like, I needed to do something with my creative energy. And what I haven't shown this one outside of the mystery kit yet. It's not available in the store yet, but I just did a little word art. I thought it would be something fun with all of the big things in the entire 5-book series. And it's in the shape of an eye, because that is what the arena in Sunrise on the Reaping was shaped as. So I thought that would be fun. The next book series is A Discovery of Witches. And that book series, again, it's a TV show, it's a book series, books were first. That yarn collection was one of my very first yarn collections that I ever did. And so I had to do a cross-stitch pattern when I started designing cross-stitch patterns. So we have Absence and Desire. And that's, again, one of our most popular patterns. It's a quick stitch. I think it took me just one evening to stitch the whole thing. And then Ravens Sing, based off of the 5th book that just came out last year. I can't remember. I think it came out last year. That pattern is in there too, and it's a little Nevermore-ish, but it has a quote from the beginning of the book, just like Absence and Desire. Okay, and then the next series of pattern is based on Bridgerton, and technically we have 4 patterns inspired by Bridgerton. Incomparable, was inspired by the first book, which was Daphne and the Duke. I can't remember his name. The second one is Viscount, so that's inspired by Anthony. And the third pattern was actually Queen Charlotte, and that one wasn't inspired by a book because in that sense, the TV show, which was a prequel to Bridgerton, came out before the book. They wrote the book based on the TV show. So, but it was part of the series, and so I felt like I kind of had to include it. And then the fourth pattern in that series is Spinster, which I don't think we have put in the shop yet, and that's inspired by Penelope and Colin. And I'm still a little bit salty about the fact that they released that season before Benedict's, because that's not how the books go, and I'm an originalist and I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm not really sure that we're going to be finishing the Bridgerton series. I've kind of fallen out of love with the whole TV show and the direction it's going, and it's just not as fun anymore. Okay, so the last pattern series we have is The Hobbit. And the first pattern we have is Simple Life. These ones were designed by Kelly. So we have Simple Life, and that was a kit from a couple of years ago. And then last year, our 12-day Advent box was the first in a series of 3 inspired by The Hobbit. And they are inspired by the movies, but it was a book first, so I'm including them, and it's on an adventure. And like I said, this is the first in a series of 3. So we actually have our year 2 Hobbit boxes on sale now. It's called 12 Days of Dragon Desolation, and it's going to continue on in the same style as On an Adventure. The next pattern is Storytime, which is inspired by Princess Bride, and Kelly designed that one as well. And then we have Romeo and Juliet, also designed by Kelly and obviously inspired by Shakespeare. Then we have Pink Goes Good with Green, which is inspired by Wicked. Technically, it's a quote from the movie, not the book, but it was a book first. It was a book, and I can't say I enjoyed the book, but I read it. And then it was a Broadway play, and I really loved the Broadway play. And now it's a movie, and I really love the movie. And actually, I have a second pattern designed by Wicked, or inspired by Wicked, that I did not put here, and it's Chance to Fly. And that was another one of our most popular kits, and I love the way that pattern came out. So I'll put that one up here too, because why not? So those are our fandom patterns. Then we just have generic reading patterns, one of which straddles the line, and you'll see what I mean. So the very first book related pattern I ever designed is called All These Books, and it was part of our, we had a book lovers box at some point in like 2022, somewhere around there, and All These Books was the pattern in that box. Then we also have Read, which is part of my wordplay series, and it started out as a seasonal thing where I did one for every month, like Snow was January, Love was February, Luck was March, etc., etc., etc. And then when I got done with all the 12 seasonal ones, I still had more ideas. And so I did Read a couple of years ago, and it's one of my favorite patterns. I love how dark and moody it is. Then we have my Halloween Read pattern, which is Read More Books featuring Mr. Ghosty. And I love the way it came out. It's so adorable. And then we have Right to Read. And this is the one that straddles the line, because technically this is a from our Villains series, which has Gaston as the villain of Beauty and the Beast. And this is a quote from Gaston, and it has lots of little motifs inspired by Beauty and the Beast, but it's talking about about reading. So I feel like it fit. Plus, Beauty and the Beast were stories before they were movies, so it fits, right? Okay. Then the last series of 11 patterns that we have were our book club patterns from 2024, where I designed a pattern each month based on a genre of books. So we have Dystopian, which is a quote about dystopian novels. I can't remember who said it. Then we have Romance, which is a quote by Edgar Allan Poe. So while the pattern itself has nothing to do with books, it is a quote by Edgar Allan Poe, so I felt like it fit. Then we have History, which really has nothing to do with books. but it was part of our book club, so I threw it in there. Travel. I really love this one. This is one of our most popular ones from that club. Beach read, which again, I love the way this one turned out. It makes me want to go to the beach so badly. Young adult, and I meant to check this quote. Let me check it really fast and I'll be back. Okay, so this pattern actually is a quote from Napoleon. I don't know why I thought it was something else, but I designed it to be like dragons and things like that because it's our young adult pattern. And that book that we read, that words are hard. The book that we read that month, I believe, was a fantasy book. So I gave it a fantastical element. Not to be confused with our fantasy pattern, which is a quote from The Hobbit. So it's got the little Hobbit door, which technically I could have put into our Hobbit fandom, but here it is. Then we have Mystery, which is one of my more popular patterns. I actually released it at Market this March, and I just love the way this pattern came out. Again, it's all dark and moody and mysterious, if you will. Then you have Suspense. Okay, I had to check it really fast. Suspense, this quote, suspense is terrible, I hope it will last, is a quote from Oscar Wilde. So while the pattern itself really doesn't have anything to do with books, the quote is from an author, so it felt like it fit. Holiday kind of speaks for itself. A book is a gift you can give over and over again, or again and again. And I struggled with this pattern because it is very much a bookish pattern, but it's about gift giving at the holiday season. So I made it into a Christmas pattern. It is what it is. The last pattern we have available in the shop, which is not guaranteed to be the last pattern that I have ever designed or we have ever designed. It's just what's in the shop that I could think of while I was prepping for this, is fiction. And it's a fiction is the lie within the truth. So the quote kind of gave me X-File vibes. So that's why you see what you see on the pattern. I don't know. It is what it is. It was fun and it was something different. And I'm always about trying to design something different, even if it has the same theme. So yeah, if you made it this far, drop me a book in the comments. And I hope I gave you lots of ideas to join me in my Bookish B-Day Sal on September 5th, or for the entire month of September, if you would like. We could do Storytime September as a stitch along. I kind of think that would be fun too. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you enjoy whatever it is you're reading and whatever it is you're stitching. Bye.